All right. It looks like our friends are finally starting to join. We are on chapter 6, page 64. Remember, he's getting really stinking thirsty because even the water turned to chocolate. He wasn't able to finish his math test. He accidentally ate his best friend's birthday present. Life is kind of a mess. Chapter 6, page 64. When the others had been excused to go out for mid-morning play, John had to go and stand by Miss Pimsell's desk. John, Miss Pimsell said, you mustn't make up silly stories to excuse your failures. I must have the truth. What did you do with your pencil? This is it, John said, showing Miss Pimsell the pointed stick of chocolate. Really, it is. It's changed. What do you mean it's changed? Miss Pimsell demanded. That's my pencil, John tried to explain. Only it isn't the same anymore. Nothing stays the same today if I put it in my mouth. The same thing happened when I chewed on my gloves. They were chocolate too. John, said Miss Pimsell slowly, do you feel all right? John said, I feel right. I'm thirsty. The water from the water and so did the water upstairs. I would like a drink of cold water. Yes, John, Miss Pimsell said. She suddenly looked pale. You run out and play with the others. I'm going to have a talk with the nurse. And John, Miss Pimsell said, as he started towards the classroom door, here's another pencil. Be a good boy and try not to lose it. I'm afraid I'll have to keep this piece of chocolate until school's out. You know we don't allow anyone to eat candy in class. Miss Pimsell put the slightly chewed chocolate pencil in her desk drawer, and John went out to look for Susan. He found her skipping rope with 2 girls in his class. John usually scorned skipping rope. He preferred hide and seek, tag, FBI, spies, kick the can, or any other good exciting game. Jumping up and down is one place just to avoid being hit by a rope seemed silly to him. But he was sorry for having spoiled Susan's silver dollar, and he was willing to make a sacrifice. Susan, he said. Susan continued to bounce on one foot as her 2 friends swung the rope over and under, over and under, over and under her. She didn't seem to notice John. I'll skip with you, he offered. Susan stopped, and the rope was caught by her shins. Let's try double backwards, she said, but not to John. She ignored John. You go first, Betty. Ellen, you go second. I'll go last. The one who does it the most time gets the first slice of my birthday cake. Susan looked at John, raised her eyebrows, shut her eyes, and stuck out the tip of her pink tongue. Then she turned back to the girls and smiled. Ellen whispered in Betty's ear, and Betty whispered in Susan's ear. Then all 3 of them looked at John on each other and burst out laughing. Oh, Susan, John protested. I didn't mean to do it. The trouble is, there's something magic about me today. Everything I put in my mouth turns to chocolate. The girls giggled. You wouldn't like it, said John, who was beginning to feel sorrier for himself than he ever had felt before. I think it's getting worse, he said reproachfully. At first, just the part of my mouth turned to chocolate, but when I nibbled on the end of my pencil, the whole pencil changed. Pooh, Susan said. The others hooted with glee. Maybe I'll get sick and die, John warned. Maybe I'll turn to chocolate myself. Then you'll be sorry. I don't believe one word about the chocolate, Susan said. And if it was true, you'd be glad, because all you ever like eating is chocolate. If you don't believe me, John retorted, just give me that skipping rope and I'll prove it. The girls looked questioning at each other for an instant, but as they hesitated, the bell rang and it was time to go back to the classroom. So obviously, John's having a rough time, okay? Ooh, what if he bites his tongue? I don't know. Like, yeah, what if he bites his own hand? You know, like, is his hand going to turn to chocolate? Good question, Molly. The rest of the morning passed slowly for John. He was afraid that his mother was going to be cross at the missing gloves. She might not accept the excuse that he had eaten them. Obviously, his mom's not going to believe him that he ate his own stinking gloves. That would be weird, because eating leather is weird. She might not accept the excuse that he had eaten them. He regretted his mess up on the arithmetic test, and he was sad about Susan's anger and disbelief, and he was getting terribly thirsty. Once during geography and once during art, he was excused to get a drink of water. Both times, however, he swallowed nothing but sweet chocolate. His mouth was getting stickier and sweeter and drier by the minute. Once again, it is not going good for him. We are on chapter 7 now. Chapter 7. I think we have enough time to finish this one. I know we started late, but we're going to try. Page 72 is chapter 7, Landon. All right, boys and girls, Miss Timsel said, it's almost time for lunch. Clear up your things, paint pots securely closed, brushes washed, paintings unpinned and laid out to dry. Drawing board stacked up against the wall. Ah, there's the bell. Front row first, Timothy leading, then Robin in single file. Go. John alone walked slowly in the throng, hurrying along the corridors to the school cafeteria. The school was proud of the cafeteria and food served in it. The room was spacious and bright, with windows all along one side looking over the playground and the playing fields beyond. The opposite side was wholly taken up by a shiny silver service counter. The service counter would be like where you get the food at. Several boys and girls were already settled in tables by the time John took his place in the line. Enviously, John noticed a boy at a nearby table stuck a straw dipped in a milk bottle that was dull with frost. John could imagine the refreshing taste of cold, creamy milk. At another table, a group of girls were eating fat red cherries. John could almost feel the firm fruit on his tongue and the pleasure of biting through the tart, juicy pulp. The cherries must taste good. They must be thirst quenching. So he doesn't even like other foods, but he's so thirsty and so tired of chocolate right now. He's like wishing he had some. John unhappily took a tray from the pile and slid it along the rails in front of the top of the counter. He put his napkin and a glass and a gleaming spoon and fork, knife and fork on the tray. It seemed hardly worthwhile, but he felt that he might as well try the food and drink. Perhaps if I eat different way, without letting anything touch my lips, he muttered, my food won't change to chocolate. He was not very helpful. So he's talking to himself, and he's like, okay, maybe if I try this, everything will be fine. What? Asked the boy standing next to John. Nothing, John said. I thought I heard you say something about chocolate, the boy said. I hope this is a day for chocolate cream pie, he added. That'd be super. Oh, chocolate cream pie days. Oh, chocolate cream pie days of the past. John had been known to skip the main course so that he might spend all his lunch money on dessert. The thought of 4 pieces of chocolate cream pie now suddenly made his stomach feel as if he were a roller coaster, an uneasy, flibberty-gibberty sensation. John shuddered. Okay, he commented, wrinkling up his nose. The other boy shrugged his shoulders and started to choose his meal. John took a plate of cold chicken and ham, potato chips, and a crisp, moist lettuce and tomato salad. The white of the chicken, the pink of the ham, the gold of the potatoes, the pale of the green lettuce, and the red of the tomatoes looked delicious. He also took half a pint of milk, a crusted whole wheat roll, and a cool pat of butter, a tumbler of water with ice cubes clinking against the glass, and a dish of fresh fruit, slices of oranges and grapefruits and bananas and grapes. Okay, let's talk about how that lunch sounds lovely, okay? Like, he's getting like 50 different things. And a cool pat of butter is like, you know, when you go to a restaurant, you get that tiny little square of butter, like wrapped up. That would be what a pat of butter is. It's just like that little bit you can get at restaurants. John's tray was loaded with just the sort of meal his mother was always trying to persuade him to eat. Until today, John had always thought it was pretty dull to eat sensible things when there were sweet foods and drinks to be had. Today, however, the sensible things looked most appetizing, and his mouth began to water in its new sticky way. John paid for the lunch with his money his mother had given him and went to an empty table and sat down. His fingers trembled slightly with eagerness. He cut a slice of lettuce. His fork went through the leaves with a promising crunch. He stuck the prongs of the forks into the mouth-sized piece of lettuce and carefully inserted it into his mouth. The lettuce didn't touch his widespread lips. John's teeth came together in crisp layers of sweet chocolate. So even though it didn't touch his lips, this lettuce is now tasting like chocolate. So it still has that crunch like lettuce does, but it tastes like chocolate. He took a small piece of potato chip, tilted back his head until it was looking straight up at the ceiling, and dropped the morsel straight down into his throat. He felt it go down, a sharp fragment of sweet chocolate. So this time, he's like not even letting it touch his mouth. He's like dropping it into his throat, still chocolate. He tried the milk, the ice water, the fruit. Every solid and liquid that he sampled was transformed as soon as it entered his mouth. Then he became aware of the shocking novelty that he hadn't noticed at breakfast. At the rim of each glass, there was a small semicircle of opaque brown. The bowl of his spoon and the prongs of his fork had become brown as John watched, mortified. The areas of magic chocolate slowly spread until at last the glass and cutlery were all solid chocolate. The trouble was unquestionably getting worse. Okay, so since he put the fork in his mouth and the fork touched his mouth, now the fork turned to chocolate. He like drank from a glass of water, so now the glass is turning to chocolate. So anything touching his mouth is turning to chocolate. Obviously, that's going to be a problem. Isn't the cafeteria ladies going to be like, oh, where's your fork? Oh, they're chocolate. Like, that would be so silly. John's scalp tightened with fear. What am I going to do? He asked himself miserably. Oh dear, what is going to happen to me? Leaving his tray of chocolate and drinking utensils, John stumbled away from the cafeteria and out to the playground. I'm just going to let you know, I think John's having a rough time, okay? He's got it rough going on. We still have about 7 minutes of reading RTI. This would be a great time for you to write your questions and answers. Remember, the day after we finish the book, your questions and answers will be due. We're not finishing the book this week. We'll finish it next week. But make sure you're keeping up on that. I'm going to end the recording. You have 6 minutes to be working on your questions and answers project before Math RTI. So, goodbye. Thank you, Molly, for letting me use your book. Go work on your questions and answers. You have 6 minutes.